There was a time I admired my cousin. We were quite close, almost like brothers, and I believed he was a terrific guy. I was also seeing a female that I was really into. One day, her and I intended to get married. I believed that my life was ideal. I once came home early from work because one of my co-workers offered to cover for me. I accepted and headed home because I was quite weary. When I got home, I discovered them getting it on in my bed. They were both, to put it mildly, stunned. When I returned and left the house, I informed them I wanted them gone. When I returned, they had already departed, but she had left a note apologizing and asking me to give her a call after I'd calmed down. I didn't give her a call. I texted her to let her know she was staying with my cousin instead of me, and that I would grab her belongings and drop them off at his place in a few days. I carried that out. A week or so was needed for the entire transfer. They both made an effort to apologize, but I had nothing kind to say to them, so I remained silent. I simply knocked on the door, gave the bags to the first person who answered, and walked away. I didn't accept my cousin's repeated attempts to apologize over the phone. It has been 3 years since then. I didn't get in touch with them. I didn't discuss it with my family members or any of their friends. I didn't know why, but I didn't. I answered a call I later received from a number I was not familiar with. My cousin was there. He seemed genuinely content and was behaving as like he hadn't ruined my life. He told me that he wanted me to be his best man because he and my ex were getting married. I lost my temper because I was furious that he had the audacity to act as if nothing was wrong. Before I hung up, I screamed at him and called him names. He texted me to let me know that the offer was still good and that he would not have succeeded if I had not agreed to be his best man. After a few days, I had a thought. I apologized via text message in return. I wrote a paragraph of nonsense back, stating that while I was still upset, I thought this would be a chance for the three of us to get over it. He was ecstatic and offered to help me choose a suit if I wanted, which I gladly accepted as I had no intention of paying for his pointless wedding if at all possible. The day of the wedding arrived. The week before, I had written a speech in which I expressed all the unpleasant emotions that I had suppressed throughout the years. The wedding went quite well. Given how lovely the wedding was, I'm sure one of them has a fantastic, well-paying job or something. They also must have spent a good amount of money on it. Both our entire family and a sizable portion of my ex's family were present. The moment for my speech eventually arrived. I only recall being quite anxious in the lead up to it, and I still don't care that my voice kept trailing off when I read it aloud. I got it out at least. I described what these two dreadful individuals had done to me. I wished them the worst and called them the harshest names I could come up with. After that, I departed. I was anticipating a spectacular scene involving the guests, complete with gasps of surprise, but none of that materialized. Everybody fell silent. My mother called me on the way home, accusing me in a furious voice that I had destroyed the wedding and that they were both very sad. I was questioned why I would do this by her. I assured her that everything I had stated in my speech was accurate and that they deserved it for what they had done to me. I swore at her and hung up because she wouldn't stop supporting them. Others in my family and my ex's family have called and texted me numerous times since, upset that I spoiled the wedding. Some of the folks who were there have also texted me to offer their support and to let me know they were available if I needed to talk. I'm not sure if doing this has made me feel better, but it was a really cathartic experience for me. At least now, those who told me the wedding was ruined have experienced at the very least a small portion of what they have caused me to experience. A little revision to answer a few often asked questions. I don't think the rest of the family knew that she had an affair with me. At one point, they probably knew we were dating, and then we weren't. I didn't tell anyone in my family about this, as I've been out of my parents' house for a while, and have low contact with them because I've learned from past experiences that I can't rely on them for any kind of help. Additionally, a lot of people are requesting the speech transcript. I read it aloud from my phone after writing it in a Google Doc. The delivery lacked a certain something. I read it all out, even though I stumbled over my words and sounded like I was about to cry. I read this as a broad script,
So it's not exactly what I said, but it's very close. It's an honor to be at this wedding and an
even greater honor to be the best man. I was shocked that I was even invited at all, since the last time I'd spoken to the bride and groom was when I'd found them doing it in my own bed. Hello, everyone. I'm not very good at public speaking, so I apologize in advance. My girlfriend at the time was ex, you see, but I don't think she received the memo that you don't sleep in your partner's bed with their cousin when you're in a relationship. It's not like the cousin didn't know we were in a relationship either. Who knows how long this sleazy idiot was taking advantage of her behind my back? Weeks? Months? To refresh everyone's memory, X and I dated for 2 years. I was genuinely saving money for a proposal ring and loved her with all of my heart. Perhaps if X hadn't been such a loose woman, cousin would be making this speech in its place, and I wouldn't have battled mental health issues for 3 years. In any case, I've heard that 50% of marriages end in divorce, so I sincerely hope yours is a messy one. You two wreck my life, and I will never forgive you both. Here are the top comments made before reading the updates. Lol, that's savage. Honestly, what did they expect you to do? Except the fact that he stabbed that knife in your back and basically caused you so much anguish and hurt. I'm amazed they were stupid enough to invite you. Not just invite him, ask him to be best man. I'm happy you ruined their wedding. Lol, I got mad reading this. I'm almost impressed at the gall they have to do something so unbelievably awful, evil, and callous. Like they didn't even want to bother. To rub it in his face, gloat about it, flaunt it. Normally I wouldn't support this kind of small-time retaliation, but in this instance, I wholeheartedly support it. Screw them. And while you're at it, screw all the relatives who are supporting them. However, don't communicate with any of them, if it weren't for the fact that they are supporting your horrible cousin and your ex. However, don't communicate with any of them for the reason that they saw you were with your ex. Notice that you brew. You don't go from not speaking to each other for years after a conflict or betrayal to asking the person you hurt to be the best man at your wedding. Play stupid games, win stupid prizes. They deserve what they got for hurting you and then inviting you to their wedding to hurt you even more. That's what's so offensive about your cousin, who is a complete idiot for asking you to be the best man at his wedding with your ex who cheated on you with him. Be ready to say no when they ask you to be the godfather of their child or something. You deserve a drink, sir. Hats off to you. I made sure to help myself to as many drinks as I could before we sat down for the speech. I think the alcohol gave me enough courage to do that in front of my entire family and hers. That's about as bad as it gets. Now, for the first update. Hey, it's been a while, and a lot has happened. I haven't logged into this account other than to look at any messages I've gotten whenever I see the notification in my email. It has helped, and it's good to know that people still think about me all this time later after reading words on a screen. Heck, the most recent private message I got was 4 hours ago as of typing this, and the most recent notification on my post was 10 minutes ago. I haven't responded to any because I don't really know how to begin doing so. I'd feel bad just giving a short thank you, and I'm not really creative enough to come up with over 20 good responses. I do greatly appreciate the supportive words, though. Some stuff has happened since the whole mess that was my cousin's wedding. My mom tried to talk to me, said she saw the post I had made. I pushed her away for a few days before finally speaking to her. I'm struggling to find words to describe how things worked out between us. The easiest way to explain it is that we agreed to disagree on whether what I'd done was correct. I got a mix of messages from those who were present at the wedding, some supportive, while some telling me off. I was struggling a lot. I've just gone back to simply functioning like I was before the wedding. After I came down from getting my own back, I don't at all regret what I did, and I still feel satisfied that I got payback. I was making plans to take my own life about a month after the wedding. I hadn't told anyone, for obvious reasons, but my mom, uncle, and cousin, same cousin whose wedding I ruined, came to me and told me they'd pay for a private counselor since the mental health department of the NHS is under-equipped, to say the least. I went to therapy, found a counselor who was very helpful, and he taught me a lot. I got diagnosed with PTSD caused by the discovery of the affair. He's been a big help and has encouraged me to give casual dating a try to build confidence in myself and get used to rejection as a normal part of life. I signed up to a few dating sites, although I'm avoiding Tinder like the plague. My counselor specifically suggested I stay as far away from Tinder as I possibly can. I've not been very successful in that avenue, but it's pretty much in line with what I was expecting. I've talked to a few people and even got a date scheduled, but she stood me up and ghosted me, which hurt. I'm doing good though, much better. I don't have self-harming thoughts very often anymore. Whenever I'm feeling especially crap, I like to open up this post and read your supportive messages. That's all for now. I'll probably start using this account on a more regular basis, so you may see more of me. I hope you understand that you deserve to be loved, cared for, and respected as a person, and that their acts do not represent who you are as a person. I apologize for all you're going through. P.S. It's acceptable if you choose not to be in contact with your cousin and your family. I'm sorry you had to go through such an ordeal. It makes me sick to think about it. If I ever went through something like that myself, you're incredibly strong for being able to keep it pushing for this long. Stay safe, man. Most stories on here about OP ruining a wedding have the same reaction from guests. Some support them, and others don't, which is normal. But I feel like your mother should have been way more supportive of her own child. I hate reading stories like this. I'm so glad you're feeling better. Eventually, you'll reach a point where thinking about this won't hurt. After my ex and his numerous infidelity, I had to face some demons. It takes time, but looking back, I'm glad I didn't end up with him. God, that would have sucked. After a few first dates with a few guys, I found someone when I wasn't even looking, and it all made sense. Yeah, it was miserable being heartbroken, but I finally discovered why none of the other guys worked out. I know you'll find that one day when you least expect it. I'm sending all the positive energy your way. You will have to face some demons, but it's good that you've already begun the journey. I wish you the best of luck, and God, I love you. If I was there, I would have said something like, "Oh snap, that was epic." Some of us don't get to have that kind of moment, so glad you got that mic drop moment. Bravo. Now, for the last update. Hey friends, I'm still getting DMs asking for updates and the like, and honestly, I'm still baffled people care enough to ask. I do read your DMs. I've not responded to any because it's a little overwhelming. I've had over 70 people DM me now, all but 2 of whom were sending me messages of love and support. I really appreciate it, and I'm sorry for not responding. Like I said, it's just overwhelming. I might go through and respond someday. For now, I just open up my account and read the messages whenever I'm feeling down or generally just struggling to think positively. It really helps. Anyway, on to the update. Not a lot to update, really. Not had much luck with the dating, so I gave up. I finally went on a date with 2 separate girls, but neither of them were my type, so I didn't arrange for a second date with either. The first constantly talked about her ex and how much of an asshole he was. Obviously, I can relate pretty hard, but it just gave me the impression that she hadn't moved on from him. After we finished our date, I walked her home, and she offered for me to come inside and watch a movie with her. I declined and lied, saying I needed to go home and feed my cat. I don't have a cat right now, and she seemed to buy it. I felt bad for turning her down, and I hope she finds someone who will treat her well. She seemed like a sweet girl, but she's just hung up on a toxic ex. The second girl was just painfully boring. She constantly talked about Love Island, MSE Lab, and a few other shows I can't remember the name of. I faked an emergency just to get out of it because 5 minutes with this woman felt like several decades. Other than that, no bites, and that's fine. My counselor said that if using those sites feels like a chore, then I should stop using them, and it felt like a chore, so I stopped. I'll address the often asked questions that have been in my direct messages here. Inquiry: how are you faring? All things considered, I'm doing fantastic. I occasionally have dark ideas, but I don't plan to act on them. My counselor has been a huge help. He's taught me a lot of coping methods and has raised my confidence from near non-existent to probably slightly above average. Have you had any communication with your former partner since the nuptials? I don't talk to either of them much. My mom just insists that I visit my cousin because he pays for my therapy, and I think she's trying to mend our relationship in some way. However, once I get well enough to stop needing therapy, I'm going to cut off all contact with them and move to a new city. Question. Carrying on. From the last one, tell me what happens when you talk to your relative or ex. They will stop at nothing to avoid talking about anything that isn't directly or even slightly connected to the wedding or them doing each other in my bed. I hope OP is able to move past this and find closure, but I don't think it's the healthiest course of action to have his cousin and ex back in his life at this point. I imagine the cousin will stop paying for therapy if he doesn't go visit them. With a deal like that, he'll be in therapy forever. OP's mom is still in the dark for Pete's sake. OP doesn't need to talk to cousin. Cousin ruined the relationship by sleeping with OP's girlfriend. Like seriously, the cousin paying for therapy is I wonder if the therapist is aware of this agreement. I wonder if the cousin paid the therapist a fictitious story to influence the therapy to work in his favor. Since the wedding, have you had any communication with your ex? Only when I go to visit my mom, which is rarely, at my cousin's house. Other than that, I don't talk to either of them much. My mom just makes me go see him because he pays for my therapy, so I guess she's trying to mend our relationship in some way. However, once I get well enough to stop needing therapy, I plan to cut all ties with them and move to a new city. You see, that's precisely the reason why OP needs therapy from someone else, preferably his cousin, as his own mother is already using that information to push for a relationship when none should exist, because the ex cheated on OP with the cousin. That's some sneaky manipulation on the part of his own mother, and OP would be wise to break things off with her as soon as possible. I agree, but therapy is so expensive. A few years ago, I went once a week for $50 a session with insurance. In addition, I had to pay for medication and gas to and from appointments. I had very few options for therapists because I had to find someone who could do late sessions. Since I work as a teacher, I was unable to take time off work for weekly sessions, so finding someone who could do 5 p.m. or later appointments was difficult. I could barely afford all of this, but it was that, or follow through.